the legal side of it, he took blame for his mistakes. And I think even in recent years, the fact that he and Shaq seem to patch things up and get to a better place, I think that changed people's image of him. And then just the fact of seeing him with his kids and watching that kind of relationship and seeing them sitting, the images of them sitting courtside and having them around him later in his career and at all-star games with him and in these big moments and around him, it kind of humanized him back to the point of like, wow, you know, this guy made mistakes. He acknowledged them. He seems to have moved past that and seems to be a better man for it. On the court, he wanted to play a different way. He wanted to be his own team. And he did that, and he was still successful with it. He got 2 more rings by doing it that way. And I think people just had a lot of respect for him. And then it was like people in the moment, I don't think if he was still playing and you fast forward and you put, you know, this is 2004 and it's now, he would not be a player that a lot of people like. But I think from the standpoint of just watching him over the course of his career, how hard he brought it, the way that he played the game and attacked it every night versus what we see now in the NBA, I think that has helped his legacy of just being a guy that every single night was going to bring it on both ends of the court, was going to bring it in practice. And I think, Eric, that's where you get the side of Kobe coming on the heels of Jordan. You know, we talk a lot about LeBron and how he's kind of been the guy, the next guy who's come up in this social media era where he's grown up in that era and how he's handled it. But Kobe was the guy that came on the heels of Jordan. And he was the next guy that everybody labeled. And he's playing for the Lakers in LA, this storied franchise with all these titles and all these expectations. And he seems to have come out of that and handled it as well as we've ever seen anybody handle it. All the Jordan comparisons that he went to. And I think when you look back at the guy who's been the closest to Jordan, it was Kobe, because he played with that fire every single night. He was the guy that you could imagine probably punching someone in practice, probably someone like Dwight Howard. He would have liked to have punched. And even that became a story where Dwight wanted him in the dunk contest with him, to be part of that with him, where even that relationship they wanted to mend up, where they didn't get along well when they tried to put Dwight and Kobe together in LA. So I think that from a standpoint, Eric, of just watching Kobe coming on the heels of Jordan and having that expectation, and look at the list of guys that came in. It was like, well, this is the next Jordan, and how their careers just didn't live up to the hype. And when you look at Kobe, he got pretty darn close. I mean, with titles, with points, with just everything.
Yeah.
And I think the way he was able to handle that early in his career, I don't think he handled it very well. But as he matured and as he got seasoned into the league, to come out of this the other side and to have that comparison hanging over him and to have the success in the career he had, I mean, I think something there is to be said for even that, Eric.
Let's be honest. If it was the plight of the world was resting on one guy taking a basketball shot at the buzzer, if Michael Jordan's your 1A, you know, Kobe Bryant's got to be your 1B, because as far as pure shooters, those guys, I don't think there's anybody better. I mean, maybe you could say that Steph Curry is, but his shot's not as pretty. You know, makes a lot of shots, but, you know, as far as just iconic, the way that it looks, the way that the basketball rolls off the fingertips and just always seems to have that nice little net swish, you know, it's Jordan and Kobe.
Yeah.
Just
and
absolute
even
assassins, you know?
And even to that point, not to interrupt you there, but even to that, look, Kobe missed a lot of game winners and missed a lot of shots in his career. But from a confidence standpoint, if you're standing there and your life depends on it, you at least feel confident in Kobe, just listening to him talk and his mannerisms of like, okay, he's got it. I'm good.
Yeah,
even if he was going to miss it, there was so much belief in him and himself that you just knew that he wanted the ball in those moments. He wasn't shy. Even if he was going to miss it, he didn't care. He would, if he was on a back-to-back and missed it the first night, if they were in that position again, he was not going to shy away from the moment at all, to your point.
Yeah, I think that's something that LeBron didn't have the first 7, 8, I'll even argue the first 8 years, because I think that's what killed the Heat in that first final series with the Mavericks, is that, you know, LeBron and Wade and Bosh, and, you know, LeBron still hadn't realized, like, I got to take control or we're just, someone has to lead, right? And Jordan and Kobe were leaders right from the time that they became starters in the league. And one of the crazy things is that Kobe wasn't immediately a starter coming out of high school and into the NBA. He missed a lot of games, not of his own doing, but it just, he wasn't in the starting lineup. And I think if he had those games back, he might have been 2 or 1 on the all-time scoring list too. So that's kind of crazy is that's how good Kobe was. And yeah, I know his efficiency, wasn't what some guys' efficiency is, but that doesn't really matter because that's part of who he is. I mean, he was just a volume shooter and a pure assassin with the basketball. I mean, he could miss, like you said, he could miss 4, 5, 6 in a row and he'll still take that 7th one. And that's what made Jordan so great. I've missed 9,000 shots in my career. It doesn't mean I'm not going to take the next one. That's what makes those guys great. So Justin, I mean, looking back, what is one of your favorite Kobe moments? I mean, let's honor the guy. He did so many great things on the basketball court. Does anything really stand out to you?
Well, everybody will hit all the obvious ones, I think, but watching it live the night that he popped his Achilles, went back to the free throw line, knowing that there was no chance that he was going to come back in that game and that his season was over, and shoots the free throws in that game. And just looking back at that year, the amount of minutes that he was playing and how he just literally strapped that Laker team to his back and was trying to drag them into the playoffs, even at that point in his career. And with all that going on, just goes to the free throw line and shoots 2 free throws, knowing that it's over for the season. And to your point earlier in the show, maybe his career, because the Achilles injury when NBA players on the wrong side of 30 usually is not a good recipe. Yeah. And with all that said, he came back and was able to play again at a high level. So to me, that image will stick out because I watched that game live. You could tell in the moment that he knew something was wrong. That it was really wrong. And then to know afterwards everything that happened and to watch him go through that, I just felt like, again, when I talked earlier about just him being the closest guy to Jordan, that was that competitive fire in him every single night that you knew you were going to get. And I think now in the league, the way things are changing is you don't always get that. You almost have to wait till it's a big spot in the regular season or the playoffs. And with Kobe, when you turned it on, it could be a Thursday night in November and it could be 10:30 and the Lakers could be playing a no-name team that was 10 games under 500 and Kobe was going to bring it. And you were not going to get cheated when you watched him. And I think that moment to me just cemented that, man, this guy's just got some kind of competitive fire to win in him.
Yeah, I think that is a fantastic one. So I won't use that one. Although that would have been definitely in my top 3 is just this notion that at his age, you pop your Achilles and now, with slow-mo and YouTube and everything else, we get to see like Durant, we get to see it in slow-mo. We get to see the calf muscle vibrate and his sock shake and everything else. I mean, Kobe, that happened and it's like he goes to the line, shoots his free throws and it's amazing. It's just unbelievable. Yeah. To me, boy, it would be hard. I mean, I know it's chalky, but it would be hard not to pick the 81-point game against Toronto just for the fact that Wilt Chamberlain played in such a different era and he was, down in the post and he was a giant, among other players at the time. And so I just feel in my heart of hearts, and I said it then and I'll still say it now and I'll take it with me as a person who has opinions about sports, that scoring 81 in that era of the NBA was much harder than Chamberlain scoring 100 in his day. And so to me, I do think that 81 stands as one of the greatest single game performances of all time. But I'll pick a different one. Although it happened with 50 shots, so the efficiency wasn't very good, his final game, taking the Lakers to a victory over the Utah Jazz and having an opportunity to score 50 plus points, which he had done many, many times. But again, this is post Achilles injury. This is final game of his career. This is at the Staples Center at home where you're basically given a farewell performance and he scores 60. What better way to go out in front of the home crowd than just to light up the net all night long? I got to hand it to him. I mean, he was going to compete till the very end and give the fans all that he had. And I think that is, one of the marks of his basketball career. And Justin, I think another easy pickings that we could go to, but how about some of his all-star game performances where those guys are, there's basically no defense and they're playing backyard pick 'em up basketball, but man, you could see the athleticism and the way that he shoots the basketball, and just, you could picture him on an outdoor school basketball court with like chain nets and everything, probably scoring 100 points, because just watching him in those all-star games was unbelievable.
He was such, he could get to his spots on the floor and just score at will. And when he had it going, there was no one more fun to watch than him. And to your point, watching that last game with him, and that was such a crazy night because you had Golden State that night was going for the NBA wins record for the regular season. It was Kobe's last game, and he's like destroying the Utah Jazz. And you're like, oh my gosh, he's going to actually get 40. Oh, wait, it's still early in this game. I think he might have a chance at 50. And it's like, he's going to get 60 points in his last game. Like his career. And now sadly, this whole story, it's fitting he played for the Lakers, because I don't know that a Hollywood scriptwriter could have sat down and put all this stuff together. Getting drafted how he did, getting drafted by the Hornets, and then getting to LA. Everything he went through early in his career, and then getting the 3 championships in his first 6 seasons, and everything he went through with the Colorado incident, and everything with Shaq, and having to crawl back, sitting there for 5 more seasons where everybody's doubting him and everyone's down on him. And he's scoring all these points. He's over 30 points 5 times in his career for a season, gets 2 more rings, and then watching how he transforms himself post basketball and then up to today. Eric, I don't even know if a 2-hour movie could do Kobe justice, or if this is a guy that would need a whole Netflix series on him, because I think it's that good. It's that compelling of just the life that this guy lived, and then calling out these moments along the way where he was just incredible. He was just incredible to watch, the way that he could just score the basketball. And people will knock him for the volume shooting and things like that, but that's a lot of players in the game now. Trae Young is an all-star for the East. That guy's a volume scorer. It's going to happen with these guys, but just the way that Kobe could just find his spots and just destroy people, even though they knew what was coming, was just incredible.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not going to knock the volume thing either. We've seen guys like Carmelo who are volume guys and at a much worse capability. And you see guys like James Harden who are volume guys, and they do it quite well. And that's just how the game is. And I think he helped develop that. Jordan was a volume guy, but his efficiency was always pretty good. Then you get to the Kobe era and it's like, hey, I'm just going to shoot the ball whenever I want. Because like you said, he could get to his spots. His athleticism was extremely high, and he was going to score the basketball on you. And I think that drove a new generation of players to where you see guys who understand how to be a scorer, a deadly scorer in this game. And it's just a different game. And so, I think Kobe gets credit, and as he should, for a lot of that mentality of guys saying, you know what, I'm just going to shoot 30 times. And if I score 40 points off of 30 shots, so be it. As long as I'm not hurting my team. And, we've seen sometimes where like a Russell Westbrook will shoot 50 or 60 times and only score 40 points, but that's not as common as being just a good shooter off of that many shots. So I just think that the way he changed the game is for the better. It's just part of today's NBA, and there's nothing wrong with that. It certainly makes the game offensive. It makes it exciting to watch. And, like I said on Twitter earlier, I wouldn't mind laying down tonight after we're done recording and watching that 81-point performance against Toronto just as a tribute to Kobe, because there's something about the way he played basketball that just a lot of guys learn from and a lot of guys try to emulate, but there's not ever going to be